Hi my stitching friends, welcome to my Flosstube channel. My name is Amanda Mae and this is my channel Ardith Design, where we celebrate counted cross stitch, sustainable stitching, and making all the things. I am so excited to have you all here with me this week. I am filming today, it's Monday, August 3rd, 2020. I'm filming early this week because a storm is expected to come Tuesday into Wednesday when I normally film. I am going to talk this week about my stitching. I have two finishes, plans on how I'm going to fully finish one of them. I want to talk about my upcoming spool finishing video for Thursday at noon Eastern time over on the Just Cross Stitch Facebook page. I want to answer some questions that I had regarding my stitching and my quilting. And at the very end, I'll do a little bit of personal talk and show you a couple things that I am all into. I want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who entered the giveaway last week to win one of my books of your choosing, either the Sampler Stitching Notebook or Seas and Greetings. Both of these are inventory tracker notebooks for your cross stitch projects. This one is geared for holiday stitching, and this one is more for sampler stitching, whether you're stitching a mini sampler or a large Hands Across the Seas sampler. It's just something to help keep track of that. So I had 31 people enter. I did the random number generator 1 through 31. Number 13 was drawn. I'm so old school. I'm a tactile. I like writing things down. Number 13, and it was Jenny, the long dog stitcher. Yay! Jenny, email me and let me know which book you would like, and I will have it sent to you. Yay! I want to thank everyone who told me about their organizing and floss organizing and thread and fabric organizing techniques for cross stitch. Several of you mentioned that you are multi-craftual, meaning you do more than just cross stitch, and I feel ya. Hashtag make all the things. I loved hearing a couple of viewers that are keeping their floss in floss away bags numerically, DMC, and then in library card cabinet catalog holders. Mind blown. I want a library card catalog holder. I've wanted one for years. They have gotten nothing but more popular and more expensive as the years have gone on. I love them. Anyway, it was so exciting to read everybody's different ways of organizing. Some of you said I throw it in a drawer. Some of you say I'm new to cross stitch and I don't have a stash but maybe I should start thinking about it. So it was really nice to read where everyone is at in their organizing or lack thereof journey with cross stitch. So that was really cool. So thank you so much. I do read all of your comments and I try my very best to respond in a timely manner. Oh, okay, I gotta move some books because I got a pug coming. Do you want to come and say hello? Hi. Hi, do you want to say hi? Okay. This is Loki Apple. He is part cat. We have decided. He is a funny little boy. He would catch his little squeaker ball for 8 hours a day if we let him. Just keep throwing it and he'd just keep running. So he's very energetic and very photogenic. I wanted to say that I've gotten a lot of comments about my back wall here with my stitching on it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a blog post over on my website, ardithdesign.com. I will have it linked below in the show notes here where I talk about all the pieces on my wall. I did switch up a couple things and I'll show you a little later. On pictures too, I put up the artwork here in the teal frame next to the quilt shop is the new artwork that came with the blue-footed boobies bird set. So I want to show you that stuff. So I'm really excited. Okay, so I want to get into questions. I had some people ask if I integrate cross stitch into quilting, because I have been talking about quilting, and the answer is yes, sort of. And I say sort of because I haven't finished my project, so it's not fully finished and fully realized yet. But this is a project that I started last year, and this is my pattern, Frightfully Sweet Honey. I have it quilted. I have the back interfacing on it. I just need to actually finish it and make it into a wall hanging. I have my boobies fabric. There's my boobies apiary. I did hang that, so I changed some of my things around. But I am working with integrating cross stitch into quilting. I will tell all of you who are interested in doing something like that, integrating your cross stitch, is make sure that you have your floss or your threads that you're using are color fast, meaning they won't bleed, and your fabric as well. If you are making a quilt or a textile that you will be needing to launder or wash, you don't want to do anything with fabric or fibers that might bleed. So those are just, I would just say that. I had another question regarding my quilting about the fabric that I was using with the bunny rabbits, and I apologize, it took me a while to figure out this. It was this bunny here that y'all were talking about, and I apologize, sometimes it just takes me a while. I got this at Patches, the fabric at Patches Quilting, and that's in Mount Airy, Maryland, and it is from the Briarwood line of Northcott Studio, and I had to look at the selvage to find that. I did look online at the Northcott Studio website, and they have a whole collection of Briarwood, and they have this in the colorway, which of like a green color like this. As you can see, I still have not worked anymore on these. I seem to start and never really finish quilt projects. I don't know, that's where I'm at. Can't believe he's resting. I guess I just like to say I have a lot of works in progress. I want to thank everyone too who let me know that they also use these wooden trouser holders for various projects, whether it's your quilt projects or your finished cross stitch that you don't want to wrinkle but you don't roll, but you hang up flat. That was really cool to know that more of you are out there. And my suggestion to all of you who are looking for these wooden trouser holders inexpensively, always check the secondary market. I have gotten all of mine usually at thrift stores or at estate sales. Now I understand that times are different. All of those I've purchased pre-2020. I will just say that if you happen to be safely at an estate sale or a charity shop or something, an estate sale, you'll actually like go into the bedrooms where there's closets, and you know, people, they'll sell the hangers right there, the empty hangers, so you can always look for them there. So that's one of my organizing thrifty tips. All right, so those were a couple of the questions regarding my quilts. In terms of cross stitch, I want to thank all of you for your feedback regarding my upcoming spool finishing tutorial with Just Cross Stitch magazine this Thursday. I will be discussing this magazine, and I went ahead and stitched a couple of the designs out of them to show you about finishing on a spool. Both of these are designs that are in this year's issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine. I will say that when you're thinking about finishing on a spool, you can go in your stash of fabrics that maybe you've cut off from prior finishes, your scrap linen, your scrap Aida, for that dimension where you could potentially stitch something small and attach it to a spool and have a cute spool ornament finish. And I want to just, you know, just keep in mind, these scraps can be used. You can also integrate these smaller scraps. So say you stitch something super cute and small into a patchwork for a quilt, a wall hanging, a bell pull. You think, you know, you name it, you can do it. So I wanted to show you this. I played with a scrap of linen here, and I got these beads at the dollar store in their craft section last year. I know it's one of those items that they continuously carry at the dollar store, and I think they're size 8 beads, and I stitched them in, like, doing a cross stitch. You do, you know, however you start your first leg of the cross, and then you put the bead, and then you finish the second leg. So I beaded that on a scrap piece of linen that I can then stitch onto a larger project or finish on a spool. And as I'm talking, I'm dropping everything. I wanted to say that you can finish too with little buttons. And so I got these buttons, these little jack-o'-lantern buttons. Oh, they're so cute. And then I also ordered these little cat buttons, the dress it up cats. And so I'll be showing those as well in the finish. And because buttons, I couldn't just order one set. I needed the cats and the jack-o'-lanterns. I also ordered the little stars. And so I have to show you those in a little bit. And these are stored in, I have a lot of my beads and a lot of my little smalls stored in these containers, also from the dollar store. These are food containers for, you know, sauces, condiments, and they were in like the kitchen and container section of that store. So I wanted to show you with the spools. I talked about this set last week, this set of spools, and it's a pack of 72, and it comes from, I got these on Amazon, and I'll have the link below. So I'm going to be discussing this size spool in the Facebook Live. But I realized I also sent my husband out on a mission to find other spools, specifically the one discussed in this year's Just Cross Stitch. And it's more of a circular, like one of these spools, but wooden, the shape, versus being all curvy like this. But the Michaels, everything was out of stock. Everything is kind of out, and so we're going to talk about adapting cross stitch, adapting your spools, thinking out of the box or unconventional spool finishes. So I want to just say, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I love vintage spools, okay? I have been looking for vintage spools for a long time. Guess how many vintage spools I own that are this size? One. I own one. And I love it. But I didn't want to be deterred by only having one spool, so I thought about making more. So I was playing around with my wooden rounds and dowels cut to size. I was really inspired to think about vintage spools and making my own by Deb and Liz of Country Stitchers. Deb and Liz both stitched like an amethyst band sampler last year, and when completed, finished on a vintage spool. I'm gonna drill holes on either side here, and then she hung the band sampler on the spool on the wall. Oh my gosh, mind blown. So you don't have to just think about little tiny smalls finished on the spool. Here, look at this. I'm showing you ahead of time here. But also maybe a band sampler that's longer that you can roll up. If you can't find a vintage spool, you can always make your own. I got these because I sent my husband out on a quest, like I said, to find spools. He got these wood rounds at the dollar store. Now, the only issue that these would be purely decorative because of the bark on your needlework, and it's not acid free. So I understand. I just from a purely decorative perspective, something like this might be really fun if you want to make a spool. Here, I'll show you this one. So this little spool I made, I used one of these tiny ones here, but then I glued the rounds here. So decorative. So if you use that, and then you could maybe put a punch needle design on the top. You could drill a hole and have it be, you could hold scissors. You could put a magnet right here and it could set on your table with a cute magnet, and it could be a needle catcher. So just some alternate things to think about with spool finishing. And I'm gonna hopefully be able to answer more questions and field more ideas and stuff during the live event. But I wanted to show you that, and I also wanted to thank all of you for being super understanding. Last week I kept saying bobbin finishing instead of spool finishing. My mind has been on bobbin organizing so much. I am actually getting my own stash organized that I misspoke. Thank you all for being understanding and gracious to me regarding that mistake. So anyway, I wanted to show you too that this is an Aida finish. This is stitched on 18 count Aida, and I used the called for dark color, but the purple and the orange I pulled from my stash. I did 2 strands over 1 because it's 18 count Aida. The equivalent linen or even weave would be a 36 count. And then depending on the weave of the fabric, like a 36 count Picture This Plus would make it a little bit smaller because the weave is tighter than other fabrics. So I know several of you are new to cross stitch, which welcome. Oh my gosh, I love cross stitch. So there's a lot of little things to learn, and I pick up new stuff every week. So I just measure twice, count once, no. Measure 4 times, cut once, all of those things. So that is talk about spool finishing. Oh, and my son, he helped me with this one, and he painted it with like this glitter glaze. You can see this bottom we didn't paint, but the top. Isn't that fun? All the things you can do. All right, I think I got through all the questions, the giveaway. Yes, I want to talk about my stitching this week. Okay. Pull out, here we go. So in my little bag, I learned how to stitch. I bought those little dress it up buttons, miniature buttons. I have the leftovers in here, and I worked on my Remember Me piece. I didn't grab the actual pattern, excuse me. I'm going to show you my working copy photo. It's Remember Me by the Loose Feathers. And oh my gosh, I love this chart so much. So originally I had decided I was just going to stitch the witch and I wasn't going to do the words. I was going to do the witch, the cat, and the jack-o'-lantern on the, but now I decided to add, and I'm not going to do the coffin, but I am going to do the houses. And that is because I went through my frame stash, and yes, this doesn't look like much right now because I gotta clean it and do all the things, but this frame will fit this project if I stitch those little houses. So at first I finished and I added the buttons, and then I decided, nope, it needs the house. So I wanted to show you, I added those tiny little cute little buttons. I stitched this on a 14 count Aida that I hand dyed myself. These are the little dress it up buttons. I will have the item number below. I got mine from a seller on eBay, but I'm sure they're available other places. So I just kind of randomly put the stars and the little micros there. I had originally started this piece just using 12 count Sulky thread, one strand like for her dress, and 2 strands up here for the hair, 2 strands up here for the hat. And then I found out about that awesome, the Sulky acrylic thread, which I decided to put in my nail caddy. I guess it's a nail polish caddy, but I put my threads in it. And anyway, with the acrylic, I decided to test it out, and I did the cat in the acrylic with 1 strand, and I loved the coverage so much. I believe it mimics like a wool if you were to stitch with wool. I oscillated about what to do for the houses below, if I should stay true to my color conversion up here for the chart all in cottons. And then I thought, no, I like, if you can see, the coverage is way different. This is 1 strand of the charcoal, the almost black. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 strand, and it looks very sparse on the 14 count Aida. But 1 strand of the charcoal in the acrylic, which it's this color. I'm grabbing it. It's the Fillion 3835, just the 1 strand, which gives me this type of coverage, and I love it. So you can see I've got acrylic here, cotton here, acrylic cat, acrylic plastic buttons on a thrift store piece of Rit dyed Aida, and I couldn't be happier with this piece. And then so I'm gonna have it, and then I'll have obviously I'll center it better, and then the houses will be right at the edge of the frame, and then that. And I am, with this frame, I am gonna take the glass off so the buttons can be seen, and I'm super excited. Again, use what you have. We're living in very interesting times, and all I have to say is, enjoy your stitching, make it work. Things are out of stock, but if we can find some creative workarounds, just think, we can look back on our stitching and go, guess what I did back in the day? We were all out of wooden spools in the state of Maryland, and I used my saw to cut up wood to make my own spools. I don't know. There's a joke about Pinterest, never go on Pinterest because 4 hours later you'll be eating an artisanal salad out of a mason jar. I feel that way sometimes about cross-stitch finishing. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, the next thing I worked on is my project. I'm just grabbing it. It is the Fairy Garden from Blackbird Designs. This is the Garden Club series number 11. I did all the called for gentle art threads, and I used 2 strands on a piece of fabric. This is not the called for fabric, and I did not iron it, excuse me. This is my finish. I did not add initials or the date. And I got some really lovely feedback about going ahead, and even though it's not part of the garden series, to go ahead and add other Blackbird Design pieces to this. And I appreciated that inclination being validated. So I am looking to add a piece on the side here, because apparently I tried to leave a 3-inch margin and then gave myself like a 5.5-inch margin. But I was looking at pieces that are a little thinner, but maybe the same height or almost the same height as Fairy Garden here, to add a piece here and then to work on a piece here. So I started going through this book, which is the release from 2020, looking at the different designs and looking at the stitch count to see if the count would work with the existing count of the fairy garden. So I wanted to just show you, to give you an example. This fairy garden is 85 by 85, which means it's 85 stitches high by 85 stitches wide. So I want, if I'm going to put something over here, I want to make sure that number one, it fits in the fabric that I have here, giving myself enough margin, and also corresponds approximately with the height of the existing piece here. So I went through the chart, the book here, and I found this pair here, and this one measures 48 wide. So it's obviously, it's thinner than fairy garden, but the height is 87 high, which if I put it next to, this is just an example, I'm not saying I'm going to do the pair, but I could have it where it's literally one extra stitch is down here and one extra stitch is here, and it will look almost equal. Or I could always cut out the one top row or the two top rows on each side of the border, or, you know, you can move things. But I think one stitch and one stitch, 87 versus 85, that's close enough to put that together. So you can always look at mixing and matching. The one thing that is keeping me from starting this is colors. The color palette for the garden series is different than the color palette they use for this new book. So it's a matter of, do I do the called for colors, or do I try to do a conversion that stays true to the original garden series? So I had said several times I would like to do the hollyhocks here. This blue, I don't feel lends itself to this color palette here. I feel like I would need a deeper blue to go with this. So doing a color conversion, the same with the flowers, I feel like the garden redwood or the country redwood and the antique rose from this would look gorgeous in the hollyhocks. So just I'm leaning towards doing a conversion so it's compatible. So, but this is 72 inches wide by 82 high. So again, the height here, we're only 3 off. I could add this swirl border up and down on both here, and then boom, it will fit right in. But because this piece is wider, I would need to put it on this side of the fabric where I have more room, versus here I'd probably want to do the smaller piece. So it's just an idea. I haven't started it, but you can always look. I love this one. It's the sewing roll, and you look at the stitch count, and it's deceiving. The stitch count is 87 wide by 229 high. However, that is taking into account all of this and all of this for the roll. But if you wanted to just stitch the house and the bird, your stitch count, it will be significantly less in height. Your width will still remain the same, which would go along with the 85 wide here that I have. Again, just throwing it out there. I'm thinking, the wheels are turning. I'm debating on what I'm gonna do, but I'm excited. I do have a finish, albeit small, of Fairy Garden, and I'm happy with it. The next thing I worked on is a finish, another finish, but wait, there's more. This was in, and I didn't grab the magazine, I apologize. This was in this summer's Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, and it's by Barbara Anna, and it is called Patriotic ABC, and I have a finish. I am so excited. I used all the called for DMC except this brown that is in the center of the eagle and the brown on this half of the alphabet in the red and white stripes is a unknown. It's one of the browns, a variegated browns that gentle art created for the Kitten Stitcher exclusive sampler pack color pack, but it didn't have a name. Again, I like to stitch with limited edition threads for my personal stitching, not for professional stitching. I absolutely love this. I did it with 2 strands of the thread and floss DMC over 2 linen threads on a 32 count fabric that was gifted to me by Karen. Thank you, Karen. And I am so excited for this project. It is finished, the model is finished in a hoop, which is delightful, but I went through my frame stash and found this little frame. It had something already in it, just a inexpensive little frame, but I think it'll fit perfectly in there. My only thing, I don't know if the reds, this is more of a copper red, if versus a bright red, if I should repaint this frame or not, but the size is going to be perfect. So I'm really excited about that. So now I finished 2. Now I got to put this in my to be finished stack, fully finished all the goodies. So I'm really excited about that. Excuse me as I move everything around here. All right. Oh, I wanted to talk too. I didn't grab it per se to show you, but I've been using this, it's a mat board, but it's also, it's what you can put comic books behind, like a comic mat board or a photography mat board. It was advertised as the mounts for the back of art prints, so it's acid free. I purchased a set that were 8 by 10, and I cut this down trying for a unique shape for another project that didn't work out. But I just wanted to show you that you can get this acid-free mat board for your projects, and then you can use stitchery tape or you can lace your projects, but this is acid-free, so that's just something to think about. I got that set from clearbags.com. Yes, that's correct. I'm going to try to remember to link that below. Okay, the next project I worked on is Bouquet of Sunshine. I didn't bring any of my original patterns to show you, excuse me. This is out of the Cross Stitch and Country Crafts issue. It's also featured in the 101 Best Designs of Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. It is my piece that my son helped me mark up with green highlighter marker. I just keep moving forward with it, and I am happy to report that I got the sunflower here finished, and the first sunflower, except for the center here. I need to finish the center, but I got the petals done, and I'm one step closer. I am doing this in all the called for DMC, and I love this palette so much. It's really lovely. This pattern came out like in 1992, and I feel like it still is relevant as far as color palette and theme today. I feel like it's timeless. I don't know, I could be biased, but I'm really happy with it. I am not stitching the full sampler with the border. I just am doing the center motif with that. And then the last project that I worked on that I am happy to report that I started is in my Boo Bees bag for the blue-footed boobies. I'm sorry, it's not getting old. Hope I'm not upsetting everyone. So here it is. This is Beach Dance that I started. Cutest little pattern. When I sent my husband out on the quest for wooden spools, I also gave him my DMC thread list. These 3 came in the pack with the bag, but all of these he picked up for me. I wrote all the numbers down, and they were all in stock. So he got them, and then I made my own little floss ring tags with like a heart hole punch. And then I have this really cool, Fiskars came out with an actual cross stitch X hole punch. So I just have the decorative, I just cut pieces of scrapbook paper, and then just wrote the number on the back. It's nothing fancy, just I like it. So I cut the ends, and they're all to length. And yes, I know last week I talked about bobbins the whole time, and then when it comes to me starting our project, I put it all on thread drops. I know, I can't figure myself out, so let me show you what I started. This is on a piece of fabric that I got earlier this year. It was my Christmas present. I gave my husband my 1, 2, 3 wish list, and he bought me some of the fabric that I had put on there. And so what fabric is this? Okay, it is 32 count Peaceful Purple. And I'm really excited. It doesn't look like much. I started working on the border, and so I counted down the length with the green, and then I parked my thread up here, and then I started down with the black and white border. I believe, though, I already made a mistake in counting on my border, so I got upset, and so I came over and counted down, wanted to make sure I didn't make a mistake. And here is the wing of the first booby, and then the stem of that first flower here. The wing and the stem of the first flower here. So I'm excited to get the flower in and get all of this in. And the border, like I said, I think I've overdone the last 2, so I've got to fix that. But I have a start, albeit small, but I'm really excited. I'm happy with the purple so far. I held up the 2, so the sugar plum is like a purple, and then this one is 153, and I feel like there's enough of a difference that they won't blend in too much. I grabbed some of the colors similar to what the model was stitched on, and I wanted to go a different route. So I'm really excited about this. Oh, and I counted, so this is the 9x13 piece of fabric from 1, 2, 3 Stitch, and it does fit. It gives like a 2-inch margin up here, so, but it does fit on a 9x13 piece of fabric if you want to stitch this small on a 32 count. I gotta preface that again. Check your measurements if you stitch on a different count of fabric. If you stitch on a 28 count or a 36 count, obviously you'll need more or less, depending on your count. All right, that is what I have stitched on this week. I had 2 finishes. I had lots of prep work for upcoming stuff happening. I'm just keep moving forward and stitching and making all the things. If you are done talking stitching with me, I will say toodaloo until next week. But if you want to stick around for just a few minutes, I'll talk personal stuff if you want to hang out. Okay, so I want to thank all of you for your positive comments regarding the upcoming school year and homeschooling my little ones. I got some of my artwork framed. Here's one of them I put up as an example. That is Let Equality Bloom. It is artwork from, you can find it on amplifier.org. I will have that down below. I learned about them on Instagram, and I really like it. So I got my artwork framed. I have boobies put up. I ordered my academic teacher planner for the year. I ordered a lot of the books for the curriculum that I've decided upon. I am still looking at my route for math. I have not chosen a math curriculum yet, but I am working on it. And I wanted to show you my best new thing. I'm so excited about this. Oh my God, I love classroom stuff. I got the Ticonderoga, number 2 pencils for the kids, to write. We use a lot of whiteboards, so they are using markers a lot, but I want them to use pencils. So, and then I love globes and maps and atlases and all that stuff. So I went on and I found this really cool wall tapestry that I want to hang in our little home classroom space. And it is a tapestry of the world, but it's a watercolor, which I love. Now, the nations are not written, but what I liked about this is it has the oceans and the seas. And one thing that I personally need is, remembering what the bodies of water are. Obviously, I know, Gulf of Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. But it's cool to see like Greenland Sea, Norwegian Sea, North Sea. So this is, I got the medium size, and it is like 52 inches across by I think like 48 inches tall. So now I have to iron it, and I have to figure out how I'm going to be hanging it on the wall. And I'm really excited. I love the look of this. I also have a globe, but it's an older globe. It's an old classroom globe, so it's not current. I got a joke. Someone said, what, are you gonna have your kid write a report on the USSR? Because the globe was so old, the globe is older, I'm gonna figure it out. I got the one of the book lists, the Atlas books, and the Flags of the World sticker books. And I guess so. Apparently, in homeschool language, sticker books are called consumable books. So I'm learning stuff. So I got the consumables for both the kids, so they don't fight over the stickers. But Mama loves stickers, so maybe I should have gotten 3 sticker books. Okay. I have 2 sleeping pugs. I'm so happy that you came and hung out with me this week. My sunflowers are over 10 feet tall. They haven't started blooming yet. We have the storm coming, so that's why I filmed early. All I can do is say thank you and wish you well, and I hope you are safe and secure. I want to remind you, in case you forgot since last time, I want to remind you that you matter and your stitching matters, okay? Don't let anybody take the joy of stitching away from you. Okay, I love you, and I'll see you soon. Take care.